Hey everyone, it's Rebecca the dietitian, and this week I wanted to talk to you about the Impossible Whopper. I imagine that you have heard about this Impossible Whopper unless you have not been watching any sort of media or news outlet or driven by a Burger King lately. The Impossible Whopper is a new Whopper that is made with a vegan veggie patty. And so let's talk about this. First of all, I bought one yesterday so that I could tell you what I thought about it. Of course, first I looked at the ingredients, I checked it out, I kind of looked into it to see what I was getting myself into, and then I went out last night and I bought one for dinner and ate it. And my taste review of it is that it's pretty good. By the time you put ketchup and mustard and onion and tomato and pickles and then put all of that on the Burger King bun, which is of course white flour and who knows what else, the actual patty itself, it doesn't taste exactly like beef, but it's similar enough that in texture and vibe kind of that you don't really, I didn't miss the meat. I am someone who has not had an actual real Whopper in, I don't even know, many years. I have not had a fast food hamburger in many years. So a diehard fast food Whopper fan probably would tell you that it's very different. But from the reviews that I've read, people seem to be really happy with this. Even people that like the original Whopper seem to be quite content with the taste of the Impossible Whopper. So what's the deal? Why did they do this? Why do you need an Impossible Whopper? Why can't you just get the regular Whopper? And so let's talk about the pros, the cons, what's the deal, the ingredients, the things I've heard that are not true. Let's get down to the details of the Impossible Whopper. Good, bad, ugly, all the things. So first of all, you might think that because it's a veggie patty, or a veggie burger, a vegan burger, it would be a lot less calories. So if I was just, skipping the beef and just putting the lettuce, tomato, and pickles on there, it would be a lot less calories. But the Impossible Burger itself actually has some fat in it, and fat has 9 calories per gram, whereas carbs and protein have 4. So because they put fat in there, they mix that in, it's actually brought up the calories to be 250 calories per average size patty, the Impossible Burger patty. And that apparently in Whopper format is quite similar, because I'm going to look over here because I pulled all this information up on my computer. The Impossible Whopper has 630 calories, whereas the original Whopper had 660. So in essence, if you're trying to cut calories, you would actually be better off just cutting out the mayonnaise, which cuts out 160 calories from the original Whopper, and you'd be at 500 calories. The Impossible Whopper is 630, and if you cut out the mayonnaise, it's 470. So if you're just trying to cut calories to lose weight, you actually would be better off just skipping the mayonnaise and of course the cheese and the bacon and whatever else you might add on that adds a ton of calories and fat. So it's not really about calories. It's only saving you 30 calories. I have heard one thing that's not true that people are saying is that there's a bunch of sugar in it or carbohydrates, and that is not actually true. So the Impossible Whopper does not have more sugar or carbohydrates than the original. The Impossible Whopper has 58 grams of carbohydrate and 12 grams of sugar, and the original has 49 grams of carbohydrate and 11 grams of sugar. So similar, not a big, huge difference. And so that wouldn't really be a reason to have one versus the other to cut sugar or carbs. You're cutting a little bit of carbs by going with the original Whopper, but not as many as you would think by going to a plant-based burger. And the sugars are almost identical. So what about protein? People might think there'd be a lot more protein in the original beef Whopper than the plant-based Impossible Whopper, and actually it's almost identical. The protein is 25 grams in the Impossible Whopper, which is quite a lot of protein, and 28 grams in the original Whopper. So very, very similar there. There's 2 grams of fiber in the original and 4 in the Impossible, so a little bit, it's double in the Impossible, but not a ton of fiber in either one. And so there we are, left with the nutrition facts being actually quite similar. They both have about 1,000 milligrams of sodium. So if your goal is really to like shift your nutrition information for any particular reason, like to get more protein or less protein, or for your kidneys, or more or less carbohydrates for diabetes, or calories for weight loss, you're not really changing a whole bunch or improving either way. The one number that is pretty different is that the cholesterol is 90 in the 90 milligrams of cholesterol in the original Whopper, and it's 10 in the plant-based version. And the plant-based version, that's probably from the mayonnaise. It's not from the actual burger itself. So you will be cutting back on cholesterol, and that is one reason why people might choose the plant-based version of the Whopper, is to cut cholesterol. Like if you've had a heart attack or heart disease, or you're trying to get off statins or not go on statins, things like that. Your plant-based diets have been shown to be helpful in that aspect because they don't have animal cholesterol that you're eating. So there is that with the cholesterol, and the original Whopper has trans fats in it, which is interesting because the Impossible doesn't have any, and trans fats are like chemically derived fats, and I don't know why those are in the burger patty of the original Whopper, because that's the only difference is the patty, and why would there be a chemically derived fat? Kind of like how they first made margarines, that's a trans fat, and that's in the beef patty, which I don't know why. It's interesting. So it can't just be beef in that beef patty. It has to be, they must be mixing the beef with other things, and I don't know about that, honestly. So so nutrition facts are quite similar. So why would Burger King come out with the Impossible Whopper? Why would people buy it? So let's talk about that. So one of the reasons would be someone who is vegan or vegetarian based on animal cruelty or just animal ethics. They love animals and they don't want to harm animals. They don't want to eat animals. And I actually love to see a company as big as Burger King supporting people who are just in their life taking a stand against eating animals. I think that that's fantastic that those people who choose to do that, to be vegan or vegetarian, can now go out in mainstream society, have a delicious burger, and not feel bad about harming a cow. So that's one reason, is that it's nice that they are supporting plant-based diets or people that are choosing not to eat animals for ethical reasons or whatever, health reasons. So that's one thing. And another big thing that's going on right now is the awareness that the cattle industry, the beef industry, has quite a big impact, negative impact on our environment. So I'm going to read you something from the Impossible Burgers website. Compared to beef from a cow, producing the Impossible Burger uses 87% less water, emits 89% fewer greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, contributes 92% less water pollution, and uses 96% less land, enabling healthy ecosystems to be restored for nature and biodiversity. So there is that. Plant-based diets are much better for the environment than eating a bunch of beef. So that's the big campaign for Meatless Mondays, not only for our own health, but for the health of our environment. Trying to eat more plants and less animal if more of us would do that more often, it would be beneficial to the environment. Now, Other things about the Impossible Whopper, like why someone would choose to have a veggie burger instead of a regular burger. Illness, like I mentioned, cholesterol potentially, it's a big one, heart disease. Another one would be a company like Burger King is not serving organic, hormone-free meat. So some people are choosing to avoid things like growth stimulants and hormones in their meat. And unless you're getting organic or hormone-free beef, you are likely ingesting growth stimulants and hormones, and they have been linked to some potential negative side effects. And for example, someone with breast cancer might be nervous about the growth stimulants being linked to breast cancer in some studies. So there is a reason that some people might want to avoid non-organic or meat that potentially has growth stimulants and hormones or antibiotics in it. So there's that from the health standpoint of why you might get a veggie burger at Burger King. One more thing I wanted to talk about, and then we will conclude the review of the Impossible Whopper, is the ingredients. So what in the world is making this burger patty that is quite similar in look and taste and texture to beef? What is in it? And so I'm going to read from the website, from the Impossible Burger website. It is water, soy protein concentrate, coconut oil. So the soy protein is where the protein comes from. That's why it's so high protein. Coconut oil and sunflower oil, which are both fine oils. Coconut oil, though, is part of the reason why there's some saturated fat in there, and sunflower oil, and those are why it is pretty high calorie, similar to beef, because there's a lot of fat. And then natural flavors, and then 2% or less of potato protein, methyl cellulose, yeast extract, cultured dextrose, food starch modified, soy, lexihemoglobin, and that's actually what turns the beef like brown and pink, just like beef when you're, or the plant-based patty actually turns kind of like beef does when you cook it. It goes from pink to brown, and that's because of that that thing that they've done to the soy. And soy protein, again, salt, vitamin E, zinc, they added B1, some sodium, vitamin C, niacin, so this added some vitamins, vitamin B6, B2, and B12. So it's not a horrible ingredient list. There is a lot of soy in there, and I did look, and it is genetically modified soy. So soy is one of the most commonly genetically modified products in the United States, and so this Impossible Burger is made of genetically modified soy, and you can read about their genetic modification process on their website. They have full disclosure on there. Kudos to them for actually talking about the source and why they chose to do that, and it's all there, and you can make your own decisions on that, whether or not you are okay eating genetically modified soy. Typically in my life, just because there's sort of a question mark there, I try to avoid, in general, I try to avoid genetically modified foods. Some studies say they're fine, some studies say that they're not. It's just kind of, in my mind, a question mark. Still, I haven't made up my mind, and so whenever something's a question mark, I don't have a lot of it in my life. Because of that, I wouldn't have this burger every day. I did eat it last night. I would eat it in a pinch. I would choose this over the meat patty at Burger King because I would choose that over something with potentially like hormones and growth stimulants and all that. So kind of choosing my battles, I would choose the Impossible Whopper actually for health. But just so you know, at home there's tons of really good, really great ingredients, veggie burgers for you to choose from if you'd like to try to do something like this at home. And one that's really similar to Impossible, probably their biggest competitor, is the Beyond Meat that you can buy probably at your grocery store in the freezer. And the Beyond Meat patties are made of pea protein isolate, totally non-GMO ingredients, and mung bean protein, and it's just kind of a better ingredients list to me. So if I was going to choose one to eat at home, I would choose the Beyond Meat. But kudos to the company Impossible for getting their burger into all these different restaurants. I love seeing that. I love having that as an option, and I'm so glad that you are doing the footwork to get more plant-based options into establishments like Burger King that just have never offered anything like that before. So you're getting the word out and getting this discussion going of like why people might choose to do that and helping the environment, and I'm all for that. So I appreciate that very much, and I appreciate the mission. And if you'd like to know more about plant-based diets, I'm a plant-based eater. I'm not a strict vegan, but I do eat lots of plants. I think plants are our best healing foods, and that's what I do. Part of what I do is I help people learn how to get more plants in their life and more healing foods and learn to live a life they love with delicious food. So if you want to know more about that, contact me, let me know, and we'll see if we might be a fit to work together. And I hope this helped. I hope this is a thorough, comprehensive, and understandable review of the Impossible Burger, pros and cons. And I think it's worth a try. If you are running around town and you happen to be kind of jonesing for some fast food, swing by and give it a shot, see what you think, and let me know. I would love to know what you think of it. And till then, have a great week. I love y'all. Bye.